Before this story truly begins, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt a moment in your life that changed everything? Not with noise, not with chaos, but with silence? If you've ever stood at the edge of a decision you didn't fully understand yet, if you've ever felt emotions you couldn't explain, only feel, then this story is for you. Before we go any further, take a second and subscribe to this channel. I share real, emotional, slow-burn stories here. Stories about choices, boundaries, temptation, and the moments that quietly shape who we become. These aren't fast stories. They stay with you. And this one begins with a single glance. A look that lasted just a second too long. A moment that felt harmless, until it wasn't. My name is Emily, and I was 21 years old when I finally learned how fragile innocence really is. I didn't grow up in chaos. I didn't grow up surrounded by drama. I grew up in a quiet house where love existed in small, consistent ways. My mother died when I was very young. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly. An illness that didn't just take her body, it drained the warmth from our home little by little. By the time I was old enough to understand loss, she was already gone. After that, it was just me and my father. His name was Robert. He became everything. He learned how to cook meals he never planned to make. He attended school events where he sat alone in folding chairs meant for two parents. He learned how to braid my hair badly and laugh about it. He sat beside my bed on nights when fear felt bigger than sleep. Our home wasn't perfect, but it was safe. And because of that safety, I grew up believing something dangerous. That love was simple, predictable, controlled. I didn't yet understand how complicated emotions could become once you stepped outside protection. Everything began to change when I turned 18. University acceptance letters arrived like invitations to a different life. A life with freedom, distance, independence. The morning I packed my bags, the house felt heavier than usual, as if the walls themselves understood that something permanent was ending. My father tried to hide it. He smiled. He made jokes. But when he hugged me goodbye, I felt his arms tighten just a second longer than necessary. I was excited. And I was terrified. I had never lived without rules, without structure, without someone quietly watching over me. University promised freedom. And at that age, freedom doesn't feel like responsibility. It feels like oxygen. Campus life didn't ease me in gently. It hit me all at once. Voices, laughter, confidence everywhere. I met girls who spoke without hesitation. Girls who knew exactly who they were, or at least acted like they did. They talked openly about relationships, parties, mistakes, experiences I had only seen through screens. At first, I stayed quiet. I watched. I listened. But curiosity is patient. It waits. Soon weekends were loud. Music leaked through thin dorm walls. Laughter echoed late into the night. Everyone seemed alive in a way I had never felt before. And I didn't want to be the girl standing on the outside anymore. The first night I went out, I remember thinking, this doesn't feel real. The lights were too bright. The music too loud. The room pulsed like it had a heartbeat. I held a drink I wasn't sure I wanted. The taste was unfamiliar, bitter, sharp, but the thrill of doing something new masked it. My friends laughed. They pulled me into their world. And for the first time in my life, I let go. Not recklessly, not blindly, but enough. One night became two. Two became routine. I didn't lose myself, but I wasn't the same either. Change doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives quietly, dressed as confidence. Somewhere between late-night conversations and shared secrets, I experienced something new. Infatuation. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't intense. It was innocent. Long messages. Inside jokes. The feeling of being seen in a way that felt important simply because it was new. I thought it was love. Or maybe I just wanted it to be. By the end of my first year, I wasn't the girl who arrived with shaking hands and careful steps. I was louder, stronger, more sure of myself. And yet, I missed home. When summer break came, the campus emptied. The noise faded. The silence returned. Walking back into my childhood home felt strange, like stepping into a memory instead of a place. My father sat in the living room, focused on the television. Without thinking, I tried to sneak up behind him. He turned instantly, laughing as he caught me. For a moment, everything felt exactly the same. That night, dinner lasted longer than it needed to. We talked for hours. He listened carefully as I told him about university, about how fast time moved when no one was watching. "You've changed," he said softly. I smiled. "So have you." The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains of my old bedroom. Everything looked untouched. The desk, the bookshelf, the cracks in the paint. But I wasn't the same person who left. I lay there listening to the sounds of the house waking up. Footsteps, coffee cups, familiar rhythms. And for the first time, something inside me felt unsettled. Not wrong, just unfamiliar. That afternoon, Daniel stopped by. He had been part of our lives for years. A family friend, a co-worker of my father's. Always present, but never noticed. Growing up, he was just there. But seeing him now, after a year away, something felt different. "You've grown," he said, genuinely surprised. I laughed it off. But his words stayed with me longer than they should have. Daniel didn't stay long that first day. We talked casually, about university, about how fast time moves when you stop measuring it in semesters and school years. He listened in a way that felt rare. Not distracted. Not impatient. As if my words mattered simply because they were mine. That alone unsettled me. Growing up, adults spoke to me, not with me. But Daniel spoke like I was an equal. Not a child. Not someone's daughter. Just a person. When he left, the house felt quieter than before. I told myself it meant nothing. Over the next few days, Daniel stopped by again. Not intentionally. Not dramatically. He helped my father fix things around the house. Stayed for coffee. Talked about work, about life, about mistakes he'd made years ago. Nothing inappropriate happened. No crossed lines. No secrets. No confessions. And yet, something was happening. Connection doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it builds in silence, through shared pauses, careful words, and moments where nothing happens, but everything changes. I began noticing small things. The way Daniel paused before answering, choosing honesty over convenience. The way he respected silence instead of filling it with noise. The way he looked at me, not possessively, not hungrily, but attentively. And that scared me, because attention is powerful. Late at night, alone in my room, thoughts crept in without permission. Why am I thinking about this? Why now? Why him? I questioned myself constantly. Was it admiration? Was it confusion? Or was it something deeper I didn't want to name? With those questions came guilt. Not because anything had happened, but because something could. And sometimes, the possibility is heavier than the act itself. One evening, we were alone in the living room. My father had stepped out briefly. The house was quiet in that familiar way that suddenly feels too loud. Daniel stood to leave. He hesitated. "Emily," he said softly. I looked up. "You're at a crossroads in your life," he continued. "Be careful with the choices you make now. They echo longer than you think." That was all. No confession. No tension-filled silence. No dramatic moment. Just a warning. And somehow, that made everything clear. That night, I didn't sleep much. I lay awake replaying his words, not searching for hidden meaning, but recognizing truth. Not every feeling needs to be acted on. Not every emotion deserves a future. Some connections exist to teach, not to continue. And growth, real growth, isn't just about experiencing more. Sometimes it's about restraint. After that conversation, something shifted. Daniel stopped coming by as often. Not abruptly. Not dramatically. Just less. At first, I didn't notice. Life distracts you like that. Messages from friends. Errands. Endless scrolling at night. But eventually, the quiet became noticeable. Uncomfortable. And that's when I realized something painful. I wasn't missing him. I was missing what his attention had awakened in me. One afternoon, I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling fan as it spun endlessly above me. Why had that attention mattered so much? The answer came slowly, but honestly. University had changed me. I had tasted independence. Validation. The desire to be seen as more than someone's daughter, more than someone's responsibility. I wasn't longing for him. I was longing for confirmation that I had grown, that I mattered, that I was becoming someone new. That truth hurt, but it also freed me. A few days later, Daniel came by one last time. Nothing dramatic. No emotion el confrontation. No unresolved tension. Just clarity. Emily, he said calmly, this is an important time in your life. You deserve experiences that are yours. Uncomplicated. Honest. Free. I nodded. Because I already knew. Some boundaries don't need to be rebuilt. They just need to be acknowledged. When summer ended, I packed my bags again. This time, I wasn't afraid. I hugged my father goodbye, feeling grounded in a way I hadn't before. Not because life had become simpler, but because I had learned to pause before crossing lines. Back at university, everything felt sharper. I focused on my studies, on friendships that lifted me instead of confusing me, on discovering who I was becoming, without guilt, without blurred boundaries. Slowly the weight lifted, and I learned something I wish I had known earlier. Not every emotional spark is meant to become a flame. Sometimes it's just a signal, pointing you inward. Growth doesn't always come from action. Sometimes it comes from understanding, from restraint, from reflection, from choosing long-term peace over short-term intensity. If you're watching this and you feel torn between emotion and logic, between impulse and integrity, pause. Ask yourself what you're really seeking. Attention fades. Temptation passes. But the consequences of our choices linger. Protect your future. Value your peace. And never confuse intensity with meaning. If this story made you think, even for a moment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear this. More real emotional stories are coming. And some of them start exactly like this one.